Hey there everyone, my name is Jenna. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna be decorating for Christmas. And if you guys missed it, I did my entire living room in a step-by-step decorate with me where I give you styling tips and decorating ideas to achieve a more high-end elevated look on a budget with some simple and approachable decorating ideas. So that's what we're gonna be doing today, except we're gonna be doing some other areas around the home like the kitchen, our dining table, our console table, and just sharing some fun and easy ways that you can spruce up your space to give it a more elevated feel, but they're really simple, approachable, and budget friendly. So I'm excited to get to decorating with you all, and without further ado, let's get into it.
Okay, so the first spot that we're gonna start with is our little breakfast nook, and I bought this floor-length tablecloth a couple months ago, and it's really nice to have for the holidays to make the space feel a little bit more dressed up. And this area always is a little bit challenging to style because of the round shape of the table, but we're just gonna add some simple and affordable touches to make it feel a little bit more elegant. So if you all remember, several years ago, I found some cheap burgundy fabric in the Walmart scrap fabric section, and this stuff has gone so far, and I've used this all over my home throughout the years in different ways. I use it for bows, and it's also great to use as a table runner. So I just like to bunch the fabric up and make the silhouette of the runner a little bit wavy so that it looks super casual and gives the tablescape some beautiful movement. And from here, you could simply just line this with some greenery and candles and call it a day. But if you remember in my living room decorate with me, I used a wreath styled flat on a table, and I just loved that idea for this tablescape because that would allow for a lot more usable space for servings and place settings around the table. So I went back to the store and I found this stunning berry wreath, and I loved how realistic the greenery looked and felt, and the little berry detail was perfect for tying in that classy pop of deep red that I love to incorporate for the holidays. So from here, you could style so many different things in the center. You could put a little cake stand with some ceramic houses or mini trees. You could add a vase with some stems. You could display a pretty gingerbread house. You could add some pillar candles, but I'm just gonna use these mismatched brass candlestick holders that I've been collecting over time at different thrift stores. And a theme that you'll see throughout my holiday decorating is layering in warm metallic accents. Things like brass and copper. I just love that little pop of shiny warmth when it's mixed in with natural looking greenery. And here I added in my twisted taper candles that I got from HomeGoods, and I just love the subtle texture that they have. And really that is it, just some scrap fabric, thrifted candlesticks, and a budget-friendly Real Touch wreath. I just love how these simple items instantly made this space feel classic and elevated. Just a little pop of color, greenery, and old world charm with the candlesticks. And I also love how there's still plenty of room to gather around the table while feeling decorated and festive at the same time. So now I want to move on over to our kitchen countertop area. And if you all remember in my most recent video, I showed the DIY transformation and styling process of this kitchen wall. So basically I had just decorated the whole thing, so I'm not going to change up too much this year, but I do want to add some festive and useful touches for the holiday season. So I cleared off the right side of the countertop area for a little holiday vignette. And when it comes to Christmas, I love that old world charm, so I used this vintage look crock for my utensils, and like I always say, I only keep wooden spoons and utensils in my crock, and the mismatched plastic ones can go in a drawer. I just think that this helps the space to look a lot more natural and rustic. So now we need to add some height, and we're going to add in some greenery, but I always like to use some sort of rustic pot or vessel to help elevate the look of a burlap tree. So I just use this earth-fired clay pot, but you can use a thrifted bowl, an old crock, a terracotta planter, really whatever you have and goes with your style. So because we have a lot of space underneath our kitchen shelf, I brought in this taller rustic pine tree, and I love the whimsical look of this one. I've had this tree for years, and to me it totally looks like you just went into the forest and found a little baby pine tree and wrapped it in some burlap. So I just popped it in my planter, and I love the rustic wintry look that it gives to the countertop. Definitely adds that pop of woodsy evergreen that the space was needing for the holidays. So now that we have some height established, I wanted to layer in some more rustic, warm accents. And a combo that never fails, in my opinion, is evergreens and old weathered wood. So I layered in my European breadboards for a pop of rustic warmth. And I usually have these out propped against my backsplash year round, but for the holidays, I like to embellish them with some simple details. So I just grabbed these mini berry juniper picks that I I bought in a 12 pack off of Amazon, and also this frayed edge ribbon that I also got from Amazon. And then I tied it around the handle of the breadboard and I popped the greenery into the bow. And this just helps to soften the space and makes it feel a little bit more festive with that feminine bow and woodsy greenery. And I will link everything that I can down below in the description box. Also similar items if I can. Obviously with things like the breadboards, they are vintage, so each one is going to be different and have its own unique characteristics. But when it comes to the holidays, I like to have a couple of figural pieces that act as little festive accents. So things like mini gingerbread houses, glass Christmas trees, figural candles, things like that. So this little ceramic snowman was actually handmade by my husband in our ceramics class. So I love to style him in our kitchen every year, and I just think he's so adorable, and I love that he has a little rustic look to him too. And then it wouldn't be a holiday kitchen countertop moment without a cookie jar. So I brought in my favorite gingerbread cookie jar, and I don't know what it is about gingerbread, but I just personally think it gives off such a classic cozy look, especially in the kitchen. And a little tip when styling a cookie jar is just to put it on some sort of riser or a tray to make it feel a little bit more elevated and intentionally styled. Just kind of helps to give it its own little moment. And then again, we need some shiny warmth. So I just used this little copper tea kettle that I thrifted to add a little pop of that metallic accent to the space. And that is it. I love how this holiday countertop moment turned out. It definitely makes the space feel a lot more festive. And now we're ready for all of the holiday baking and treat making. So I'm gonna have to start filling that cookie jar. So now moving on to the living room / console table area, I wanted to add some garland to our opening into the living room. I always see them do this on the Hallmark movies, and I thought it's a small detail that really does make a difference. So I just added this tension rod to hold up our decor, and I wanted to find an affordable embellishment to add to the garland, so I picked up these giant customizable clear ornaments, and these were on sale for $6.50, so I grabbed 3 of them. And I really love silver for the holidays, but I kind of feel like you need to commit to either silver or gold, and I've already committed to that vintage brass accent detail, so I gave these a quick coat of gold leaf spray paint. And I love the warmth of gold, but I love even more when my brass accents have that old world patina on them. I just love seeing the age, and I think it helps to add some texture and that warm vintagey feel. So I wanted to give these ornament tops a similar look to match a lot of the vintage brass details that I have in my space. So I just took some dark brown chalk paint and then I added in a little bit of water to make a paint wash. And I just dabbed the paint on there with a damp paper towel, and this totally resembles old patinaed brass. And this is a super simple fix if maybe you find some holiday decor at the thrift store that you don't love the color or finish of. You can easily give it this faux old brassy look with some paint, which was super easy and affordable. So now that the ornament tops matched the rest of the space, it was time to fill them. And I just used some faux evergreen picks and I spread them out along the bottom. I also used some vintage look brass bell picks from Hobby Lobby, again, just for that touch of warmth. And I only had 2 brass bell picks. So for the third ornament, I just filled it with some pine cones for that woodsy look. And you know, you could fill these with so many different things. You could do some dried florals, maybe some dried hydrangeas from the yard for some beautiful texture, or dried baby's breath would also look really pretty and delicate. You could add in some small fairy lights for a little glow. There's really a lot of options, and these are super versatile. And you know, you could lay these amongst a table runner or throughout a garland on somewhere like a console table, but I just used some burgundy ribbon and tied them to our tension rod for a little embellishment on our garland. And I also thought it looked a bit more visually balanced if they were staggered in length, so I just hung the middle one slightly longer than the other 2. And then for the garland, I'm using this super lightweight rustic pine garland, and this stuff is very budget friendly and it has a really lifelike look to it. I've used this on mantles in the past, and I've also hung it from a light fixture because it's so flexible and lightweight. So I just started wrapping the garland around the rod, and I ended up using 3 garlands in total, and I probably could have added in a couple more, but I didn't want to make it too heavy, and I thought that it looked decently full with 3 of them. So just a nice little finishing detail over our living room entryway to make things feel a bit more dressed up and festive for the holidays. So now that that's finished, I wanted to style our console table, and I had cleared out all of the extra decor and kept my staple pieces in place. And that's just a little tip that I have for keeping things easy and affordable, is just swapping out the finishing details and keeping those larger pillar decor pieces. So the first thing that I did to embellish the space was lay some cedar garland along the table and drape it down the sides, just to give the table a more elegant feel. And again, this is my favorite Real Touch cedar garland that gives off a really elevated feel for a super reasonable price. And next I wanted to add some holiday details to my vintage wooden bowl. So I popped in this old inkwell that I like to use as a little bud vase, and then I picked up these small Real Touch pine stems, and these are actually just a stem version of the garland that we used in the entryway, and I love the woodsy rustic feel that they give off. And then to fill in the bowl, I wanted to contrast all of that greenery with some more shiny gold details. I think the gold just adds a really nice contrast against the evergreen. So I found these budget-friendly antique glass look ornaments, and I love that these look like old glass, but they're super practical and shatterproof. So I filled the bowl with these, and extra ornaments make for such a fun bowl filler, especially for somewhere like on a shelf or a coffee table if you need an easy, affordable, festive detail. And it also would be fun to thrift a bunch of ornaments, maybe with an underlying theme, and then put them all in a bowl together for a collected look. But you all know that I love to mix in that natural woodsy feel, so I added in some extra texture with this pine cone bowl filler, and this just helps to break up all of that glitz with some natural rugged texture and gives off a more natural feel. So now that we have this bowl all styled, we're gonna do the same exact thing that we did on our breadboard to our lamp. And I'm just using the same exact materials, the same ribbon and mini juniper picks to embellish the decor that I already have and make it feel a little bit more dressed up and elegant. And I mean, you really can't go wrong with just tying bows on anything and everything. Vases, lamps, crocs, it's just so easy and affordable to do, and it adds that soft feminine touch. And then lastly, I just wanted to add some evergreens into our vases, and here I'm using my Real Touch Norfolk pine stems. And investing in Real Touch greenery is so worth it in my opinion, because it truly does just give off such a lifelike feel, and then you can reuse the stems year after year. And this would be pretty styled just like this, but I always try to add a little pop of color and visual interest, just with something like a little floral or a berry stem mixed in. And I think the extra variety helps the stems to feel a little bit more elevated, like they're an actual floral arrangement. And you could use things like berry stems, dried florals. I see a lot of people using dried hydrangeas right now. You could also do some mauve-y colored stems, or maybe even make some like dried orange picks. I think that would be really pretty. You could also just go grab your spring and summer stems that you have and play with things a bit to get a more elegant feel to your stem arrangements. And then again, I had to add in a little bit of shine to make things pop, so I just used this bell candle that I got from Home Goods, which looks very similar to the one that they sell at Pottery Barn. And again, I just love that aged brass detail and the old world warmth that it adds. So I'm really happy with how this all turned out. Just some simple, affordable, and easy ways to decorate those surfaces and places around your home to give them a more high-end, elevated feel and make the holidays feel a little bit more special.
All right, everyone, that about wraps up this decorate with me. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help to support my channel, and make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss my future holiday decorating videos. So I hope you guys have a wonderful and fabulous week, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.